time. I think. Yay! Good morning, everyone. Morning, Jenny. I think today we've got this totally sorted. I've been practicing all week. You should be able to hear me. You should be able to see me. You should be able to see the kitchen and the little things rolling on the bottom. Fab. Cool. Excellent. It's perfect. Thank you. Cool. So this morning I have for you something I've been wanting to do for a while, and that's a poke cake. And what I can find out is that it's a tray bake, and you poke holes in the top. Morning, Kim, with a wooden spoon, and then you drizzle it all with something really yummy or sticky or gooey, and you frost it with a whipped cream topping, and then you have a really simple, easy tray bake again. So I've been dreaming of these little things. Oh, the light's on that there. Salted caramel Twix for ages. And this is one of the things that I got on the latest shopping delivery. Yay! One of the things that did arrive, that soft brown sugar still hasn't arrived. But today we're going to take our little salted caramel Twix and we're going to turn this into a poke cake. So what I have then is very standard chocolate tray bake mix, and it's very similar to the one that we did the other week. We're just going to sort of add a few bits to it, make it a little bit more Twixy. But we're going to go with a chocolate tray bake cake. We're going to poke the holes in the top, and then I've got a salted caramel sauce in here that I made last night. I put out to you guys on the Facebook on the poll thing. Do you prefer regular caramel or salted caramel? And you went with salted. So I made this last night, so it's cool for when we add to the cake, but I'll talk about how we make that later. So you're going to have your chocolate tray bake. We're going to poke holes in the top, drizzle over the caramel, and then we're going to ice it with a whipped cream vanilla the frosting. Morning, Linda. And that's going to be just a really simple, stable whipped cream that you could use for cakes or cupcakes or anything, but we're going to make it really nice and thick. So it's an alternative to buttercream, but because with the tray bake and the poke, you've got that richness of the caramel, you've got the chocolate. You want to add anything too heavy like a buttercream on top of it. So it should really just make it a really nice, lighter cake rather than having all the buttercream. So yeah, I'll run through the ingredients. But first of all, just going to preheat the oven, and that's to 180 degrees C or 350 Fahrenheit. And I said before, this has a little hot spot and it's notoriously bad with registering its temperature. So I use an oven thermometer to gauge where it is, just to make sure that it's registering fine. So that's on the dial, it's just a little over 180, but I know that when it stabilizes, it's about 180. So you want 180 degrees C or 350 Fahrenheit. So for our ingredients, we've obviously got our Twixes. I've got some regular Twix fingers here as well. Can't resist these. Yes, and if you've seen the Twix cake on the blog, I use these. We've got 250 grams of plain flour. This is vegetable oil. There's 185 millilitres in here. I've got just 2 regular free-range eggs, 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. It looks a lot because it's in a small bowl. We've got 325 grams of caster sugar. This is golden caster sugar. I would normally be using like a soft brown sugar. For this cake, I'd probably use a light soft brown sugar rather than a dark soft brown sugar, but it is one of them things I'm really struggling with getting at the moment. So we've got golden caster sugar. I don't want to take this too much. 80 grams of cocoa powder. This is the regular cocoa powder. Previously, in the last tray bake that I did, I used that intense, really dark cocoa powder for that really chocolatey flavour. But because we've got the caramel here and we're going to have that vanilla whipped cream topping, I don't want to use that because it could be too strong for what we're trying to do. So this is just your regular cocoa powder, Aldi special again. There we are. For the whipped cream, I've got, that's obviously in the fridge, I don't want to get it out just yet, and I've got 65 grams of icing sugar. Also in the fridge is 250 millilitres of buttermilk, and that's going to add into our cake mixture. As you can see, there's no butter, so with this, the oil here is our fat, which helps keep the cake moist and really nice and light. And that's what we're going for with this today. So, first up, I just want to start by combining all my dry ingredients. So, in a large mixing bowl, and I'm going to sieve. Sometimes I don't know how to sieve my flour, it depends what it's like, but this plain flour probably could do with a little sift this morning. So, in that goes. And here goes our cocoa powder as well. Ooh. So this is the messy bit. And to sieve it through, cocoa powder tends to end up in clumps a little bit whilst you're whilst it's standing. So giving it a sieve helps just break those down. It means you're not going to get lumps of cocoa powder in your mix as you bake it. You don't want to be hitting the mother load of cocoa powder. I've just got a few rocks. I'm just going to gently help that through there. Pop that there for a moment and get rid of this sieve. So we've got our cocoa powder and our flour. 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder to sprinkle over the top. And then our sugar. Just with a spatula, just fold it all together, bring it together into a combined mixture. Nice. What if you can't get buttermilk? Aha, good. Question, Jenny. I'm going to use this new little thing. Whee! What if you can't get buttermilk? If you can't get buttermilk, what you can do is you can take the same quantity of your milk, just full fat is best, and then either add a teaspoon of white vinegar. You don't want the malt stuff that you put on your fish and chips. You want the clear white vinegar. Or you can use a teaspoon of fresh lemon juice. And if you add that to the milk and just sit it to one side, just whilst you're doing everything else, whilst you're preparing or have a cup of tea, come back to it, and what will happen is it will curdle. It'll start to curdle. You're not going to get true buttermilk, but it's going to give you that same sort of souredness, but also split the milk with what we're looking for when you can add into it. You can also use a mixture. So for this, for where we have 250 millilitres of buttermilk here, you could take 200 millilitres of your full fat milk, and if you have it sour cream, you make the remainder up with that, so 50 mils of sour cream, and you mix it through. You'll get the same sort of consistency. It will still do the same job. It's just obviously not true buttermilk, but it's just as good. It will still give you what we're looking for and add that moisture and the fluffiness into the mixture there. So great question. And that's actually what I did because I didn't have any buttermilk. So yeah, you can either sour the milk with your lemon juice or white clear vinegar, or you can add sour cream instead into the milk. We need that full 250 millilitres for this because that's adding to the volume here of the cake. We've mixed together our dry ingredients for the moment, so we're just going to put that to one side. Next up is we're going to start whisking together our fat. So like I said, this hasn't got any milk in. This hasn't got any butter in as fat, and what we're using today is we're using oil as our fat. So this is vegetable oil. I've got 185 millilitres in. I'm doing this on the stand mixer again. You can use a hand mixer or a balloon whisk if you're feeling really sort of strong in the arms, feeling like you need a little bit of a workout. But we're going with a stand mixer, so I'm just going to just pour that all in here. And just leave that on there. I'm going to add my 2 eggs. These are room temperature. I want them cold. So I got these out last night, so they had time to come up to room temperature. If they're too cold, when you're whisking it up, they're not going to whisk together very well. I'm actually just going to... And what we're looking for when we whisk is nice and thick and light colour and fluffy. There's one. And these are medium-sized eggs. If you're using small eggs, you probably want to go for 3 in there. Larger eggs, depends how large they are. If they're those super jumbo ones, you probably only need 1, to be quite honest. So we've got our eggs and our oil in here. I'm just going to pop this on and start whisking it. You can turn it on. We'll do that on like a low speed to start, and then bring it up a little bit as it gets thicker. So this is my buttermilk substitute that I made yesterday. This is, you won't be able to see it very well, I don't want to pour it too much, but this was a full fat milk and sour cream mixture. So I went with 200 mils of milk and then added the 50 grams of the 50 millilitres of sour cream and just mixed it through and let it stand in the fridge last night. So, pop that there. That's going to get really pale and thick and creamy as it whisks up. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to this. We'll add the milk, the buttermilk mix, but we're also going to add a shot of coffee. Now, I know this is a little bit controversial because not everybody likes it. So this is purely if you want to add it, add it. If it's not your thing, you don't have to worry about it. So this is a shot of espresso that I made about half an hour ago, so it started to cool down nicely. If you haven't got espresso or espresso powder, you can use instant coffee granules to make it into a thick paste. And what the coffee does is it doesn't add a coffee taste, it adds, it just makes it taste more chocolatey. It brings out the chocolate a bit more that flavour in the cake. So I just pop that up a little bit. Bit noisy. This is why I do it with this and not by arm. It's a bit of a workout getting it up. So it's probably a couple of minutes to get it to this point of thick and creamy. And it's still going to be quite runny, obviously, because it's an oil, but it's not, you'll notice it starting to emulsify. So if you ever make your own mayonnaise, it's sort of like that. I'll probably go for a little bit more. Just leave it on low for the moment. So just looking here with my bowl of dry ingredients, I can see that on the bottom here I haven't got everything mixed in. So before I think about adding my dry ingredients, I'm just going to give it a quick little mix through again. And keep going. So how is everyone? We're all easing out a lockdown. Everybody can meet 6 people from tomorrow. That'll be interesting. The village here is really busy again. It's so strange hearing the cars and people around. So there we go. So into this now, it's thick and creamy, getting to it. I'm going to add my buttermilk. So this is 250 millilitres. And just add that in. If you have made your own, like we were talking about, you'll notice it's quite lumpy, just where everything's split. That's perfectly fine. That's what it's meant to do. So we've got our milk in there. We're going to add a little bit of vanilla bean paste. You can use vanilla extract, vanilla essence if you prefer. Pop that through there. And give that another whisk up. Just to combine the buttermilk and the vanilla paste. Quite a wet mixture, so you don't want that now on too high. And then in we go with our shot of coffee. And this looks like a very weak, milky coffee. It certainly won't taste like it. So once we're all together, we're going to add these dry ingredients now our wet ingredients into our dry. But I'm just gonna get rid of that into the sink. Now, if you're doing this at home and you're then going to do the whipped vanilla frosting, you want to wash the whisk now, dry it, and chill it. Because we're going to be doing whipped cream, we want things to be as cool as possible. So the things that we're going to whisk with, so the bowl and the balloon whisk from the stand mixer, give it a wash and pop it in the fridge. I've got 2 of the bloom whisks, so there's one already in there, and I won't chill my bowl today. There's not enough room in there. You can put it in the freezer, but just be mindful that if you're getting it out cold metal, you stick to things. So fridge for about 10 minutes is good enough. So in here, we have our thick creamy mixture. So this is the oil, the egg, the buttermilk, and the coffee, and a little bit of vanilla bean extract. So with our dry ingredients, we're going to just get rid of that. With our dry ingredients, we're just going to make a well in the centre and pour in those. I'm just going to pop this in the sink. And then gently fold in the wet and the dry, making sure we get everything from around the edges and the bottom of the bowl. This is our cake batter, and it's, like I say, it's the same as the tray bake cake that we did the other week. It's really simple. The kids can get involved if you want. It's easy to bring together as well. I mean, what if we 20 minutes with some waffling from me, so you could probably do it in less than that. So I'm going to give it a good scrape, because we sieve that cocoa powder, we're not getting any lumps of cocoa powder in here either. But like I said, with the dry earlier, I can see just here on the bottom of my bowl that I've not got everything incorporated. So I'm going to give that a big round at the bottom. Make sure I've got no pockets of flour, because you don't want to be having that in your cake mix and then when you bite into it you go, oh, flour. Raw flour is not pleasant. So it smells so good. So that looks good to me. Let's pop that to the side. There's 2 trays that you can bake this in. I'm going to go in with my 9x13 tray bake tray. I like it because it's going to give me more portions. Always in for more. And will give us a nice rise and then be able to cut it up. And it's great this size for quick birthdays or desserts. You know, as we're all going back out now, we can take the dessert to the barbecue. So I'm going like that. Sometimes you might see them baked in sort of Pyrex pie jars. This is just an IKEA one. It's a lot deeper, so you're going to get a nice deep cake. Remember, if you were going into something like this, you're going to have to bake it slightly longer because you've got that depth to bake through. But I'm going to go for depth. This is about an inch or so in depth, and the cake in here will take about 20 to 25 minutes to bake. So this is a non-stick one, but I will spray it with a little bit of cake spray, just the release. There is a recipe coming through soon for your own, make your own, which you can keep in the fridge. Saves you spending money on expensive things like this. And I'm just going to spray through that, and then I'm going to line just the main part of the middle with a piece of baking parchment. It's just going to help me lift it out later. So I'm just doing the edges and the corners more than anything, because we're going to have this parchment in the middle. So that's laid over like that. A little bit of spray there was on the bottom just to help it stick down. So then with our cake batter and my awkward left-handedness, I'm just gonna pour that in. Try not to flip chocolate cake mix all over your work surface. Like I say, if you haven't got a stand mixer, you can do it with a hand mixer. If you haven't got that either, you can just do it with a regular balloon whisk. Especially if the kids are helping, they can do that bit. There's nothing to have any issues with. So we'll get as much out as we possibly can. Just going to get rid of that. And does anybody else have protein things and jars everywhere? Hi, Emmy. Sorry you're late. Don't worry about time. So if you have just joined us, we are making a chocolate pot cake. We're using a chocolate tray bake as our base. We just made the cake batter and have popped it in the tin. This is quite fluid, so it doesn't need levelling off, but I am just going to, because I can see in my corners I'm a little low, so I'm just going to give it a gentle ease over there. It'll do what it wants when it bakes, to be quite honest. So there we go. And now this is going to go in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Don't forget it's shallow, so it is going to bake quicker. So that is in at 180 degrees C and 350 Fahrenheit, I think. Yes, 180 C, 350 Fahrenheit. If you're doing gas, I think it's about a gas mark 4. And it's going to bake for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's springy to touch. So we're just going to leave that be for the moment. And we're going to move on to the topping, but I'll talk about the caramel sauce first. So this is in here, that one that I made last night, and I've given it a whisk up this morning. It's quite a runny, foamy one. Now you can buy caramel sauce in the supermarkets. You buy it in a jar. You can buy the dulce de leche, the carnation dulce de leche. They're quite thick, so you maybe want to just gently, very gently, over a low heat, over a bain-marie, warm it through so it starts to get running. If you put it in the microwave, you just want to be really quick with a couple of seconds lasts. You can make caramel sauce really, really simply with butter, soft brown sugar, and cream, heavy cream. And there's a recipe on the blog which I will link to in the information later on. And so you can see, morning Amita. So, but this is a really quick, simple caramel sauce. Now, this was made with dulce de leche. I only had half a tin left, so I didn't want to heat it and just use that. So what I've done is added condensed milk. So I had about 100 grams of dulce de leche left, and I've added probably about the same, into, so 100 millilitres of condensed milk into it, and I've whisked them together so we get this nice runny caramel sauce. Oops, like this, which means we'll be able to pour it and drizzle it really nicely over our poke cake. And then to add to that, to make it salted, I've added some sea salt. So a good pinch of this. This is the flaky Cornish sea salt, not the table salt. The table salt that's really quite fine and grainy is not what you're looking for to use as you make a salted caramel, because it's quite intense. This is a really lovely, subtle, salty flavour. The texture of it as well is right for adding into our salted. And if anyone has watched Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, I get them mixed up, on Netflix, then her first episode to Salt definitely talks all about the different types of salt, the different types of salt granules, why we use different ones for different things. So it's a really great program to watch, besides the fact that it's teaching you about salt. Also, her book's amazing as well. There's some amazing recipes, and actually we can be quite scared of using salt. We're all very conscious of how much salt we have in our diet, but actually if we're careful with it and we know what we're not just throwing handfuls on, it's really good, and it helps season and bring out flavour. With the salted caramel, it really cuts through that sweetness as well. So when we pour this over our tray bake cake and we add that whipped vanilla cream frosting, it's going to just make it a little bit, just going to take the edge off that sweetness and give you a little saltiness, which really works really well together. Which is what I expect these to look like, but I haven't actually opened one yet. Because I've been saving them. I thought if I open them like when they arrived on Tuesday, I was never going to, they weren't going to make it to the weekend for today. So that's our cake in. This is our really quick salted caramel. And next thing to talk about then is whipped cream. I'm just going to quickly wash the bowl up. So 2 seconds, it's in sat there. This is when I need Ian to stay home rather than cycling on a Sunday to be my washer upper. He's enjoying the sun, so I can't take that away from him. We'll be out there shortly. So we're going to talk about whipped cream frosting instead then today. And like I said at the beginning, the reason I've gone with a whipped cream frosting rather than a buttercream for this is we don't want it to be really heavy and overly sweet. Yes, we've got the salted caramel to cut through the sweetness, but we've also got quite a rich chocolate cake. We've got a rich caramel, and we're going to top it all off with some broken up Twix. So we want to keep it nice and light. So we'll go with a whipped cream topping instead. Now you can use things like dream topping, the bird's dream topping if you want to. I haven't used or seen that since it was quite small. You could use that, but we're just going to whip it up. So this is seriously simple. What I have in here is 240 millilitres of whipping cream. You can use heavy cream, double cream if you prefer. The whipping cream has quite a high fat content, so it's going to really whip and hold itself together. So they all work, just not single cream, because you won't get that to whisk up. So I'm going to add that in here. And what you'll sometimes see is that people say they want to stabilise with gelatine. And I've talked about this on the no-bake cheesecake, is gelatin and I aren't huge friends. We don't do well together in baking, but also I'm just not a fan of using it. So to stabilise this instead, what we use is icing sugar. It also helps keep the cream a little bit sweeter. So into our 240 millilitres of whipping cream, we've got 65 grams of icing sugar. Now I'm going to whisk this up because this icing sugar is a fresh bag, but it's a little bit lumpy. So, and I don't want that in my cream. So I'm again a bit like with the cocoa powder at the beginning. Just sift it through and it'll help it really combine. Now, as I said earlier, you might have popped your bowl here into the fridge for 10 minutes or the freezer to get it nice and cool. We don't want it to be warm. You know, we're dealing with cream here, so we want to try and keep it stable. So having a cool bowl and a cool whisk attachment really helps. I didn't pop this into the fridge because I don't have any room in there. But, oh, that's baking nicely. I do have a very cold balloon whisk, which has been in there overnight. I'm going to pop that on. Again, a little drop of our vanilla bean paste, or you can use vanilla extract or vanilla essence. And pop it on. Now this is going to need quite a bit of whisking up. We want it to start to form thick, stiff peaks. So start off on low, because if we over whisk it, it's just going to not be nice and smooth and manageable. So start sort of low, and if you're doing it by hand, you really want to be using a hand mixer. I know some people say you can use like the immersion blenders as well if need be. Good morning, Emmy. So we're starting to whisk our cream up. And just take it up another notch. Now this is really quite a simple, quick frosting. If you could put it onto anything really, cakes, cupcakes. Don't forget it's fresh cream, so if you do make it, you have to keep these in the fridge. So this cake will have to be kept in the fridge once it's baked. I forgot to put the timer on, so I'm going to put it on for 10 minutes. I don't. So, yeah, you could make a chocolate whipped cream. You could add like a mascarpone, a cream cheese into it as well. So it will really sort of just pull everything together. So this is quite a nice alternative, a lighter alternative. It's great for scones as well. So if you're having cream cheese or anything, you can really pipe it on the top if you haven't got any coffee cream. So just nudge this up a little bit at a time. Just slowly, like I say, because when you whip cream and it gets thick, you don't want it to become too thick. So mine's probably looking a little bit sorry for itself. So I'm just going to scrape this in. It's the only thing with the balloon whisk on the stand is getting everything in, like getting it through. I can take it off and give it a tap, but for the moment, just going to go squeeze it through. And that's probably I probably don't want to whisk this anymore. If I do, I think it's going to be too much for it, and it's going to start to split. So got quite a bit there, and this will spread really nicely as I drag the spatula through it. I'm not feeling any resistance or any lumps or anything like that. So it's really just nice and quick and simple. It's just basically a whipped cream, but it's got quite a lot of sugar in it. That icing sugar as the stabiliser. So let's get rid of that. I'm just going to put this then to one side until I'm ready to use it. And pretty much that's all we can do for the moment. But what will happen is when the cake comes out, I will leave it to cool for about 10 to 15 minutes, just so it's just still a little bit warm. And what we'll do is literally, with a wooden spoon, poke into the cake across in a pattern and down. So you get sort of a grid of holes with your wooden spoon. And I'm not going to push it all the way to the bottom of the tin, because if I do that, I'm just going to lose all my sauce at the bottom. So sort of about 3/4 of an inch. Remember, don't go all the way through. So, but a wooden spoon is about the right sort of diameter there. We're then literally going to get our gorgeous caramel and spoon this over the top. And then just let it find its way on the top of the cake. And then again, with my trusty angled spatula, just level it all off. We're not forcing it into the holes. If it sits on the top of the cake, that's perfectly fine. We just want to smooth it over so we've got a nice spread all the way across the top of our cake. So we'll have the cake, we'll have our holes poked in with our caramel. I love this, this just looks so good. This would be good on ice cream as well. I know someone was talking about ice cream sundaes the other day. How cool would that just be, sort of drizzled over the top? So then I'll let that completely cool before we put the cream on the top. You don't want to put that on too soon if the cake's still warm. Obviously, it's just gonna melt. So leave the cakes cool. You can leave it in the tin. If you're going somewhere and you want to serve it, it's great. You just take the tray. Take the tray and serve it from the tray. This one here, I would say we lined it so I can lift it out nice and easily. But I will ice probably in there and just keep it in there because it'll just pop in and out of the fridge. It has got cream on the top, so it does need to be a fridge kept cake. You can freeze it if you want to. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll go in with my Twixes, and I'm going to break these up, just crush them up into crumbly pieces and then scatter it all over the top. I had thought, and I completely forgot as we were baking, is that I might have chopped some of these up and put them through the cake batter itself. With the Twix cake that we've done on the blog before, we have, I've used shortcake biscuits, so I've done a layer of frosting and a ring and then a layer of the caramel, and then I've crunched up shortcake biscuits on top to get that Twix finger, you know, the bit inside. I had been thinking about doing that and I completely forgot. So this is slightly different. But you get that chocolate, you get the vanilla from the cream, you've got that caramel in there, and then you've got these chopped up on the top. I can't wait to try. I might have to have one though. Might have to save one and keep it to the side for later. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this morning. Obviously, I have to wait for the cake to bake, and that's going to be another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll start to think. But what I will do is I'll pop up the information about it shortly, including sort of a link to where my full caramel sauce is, and also how I've made this one. I'll also pop up the buttermilk substitute. So don't forget, that's either souring the milk with lemon or white vinegar, or using a combination of milk and sour cream if you can't get buttermilk. They both work a treat. And then I'll pop the recipe up, and I still need to finish last week's recipe because, well, hey, we had a complete hard drive failure as I went to back up my files earlier in the week, and I lost all my photos and everything that I'd got ready for you, which was just soul destroying. But we've got it all back, so they'll be up soon. And this one will go up. So this is a salted caramel Twix inspired tray bake cake with the tray bake currently in the oven. Next week we'll be doing a banana cake, which will be interesting. If anyone knows me, bananas and I don't mix, but I've had a lot of requests for it, both from Ian and from you guys. So we'll be making a banana cake or banana loaf next week, which I trust will go to plan. I'm going to let you guys go and have a lovely Sunday. I'll pop all this up shortly, and I'll pop some photos up of the finished cake when it's out the oven, and we're all ready to go. So yes, I hope everybody has a lovely Sunday. I shall see you soon, I'm sure. Don't forget to check out we've got the baking community on the Facebook page, which we're trying to sort of get going. So please, if you've got any questions, don't be afraid to ask, or share your pictures as well if you've made anything. It'd be lovely to see it. I love seeing them. And any other suggestions for any kitchen live, we'll be going through until the end of June with these, and then just taking a little break, and then so I can get my brain cells whirling around some other things. Oh, 2 seconds. So this should be springy to the touch. which it almost very much is. It's probably a little soft in one part. So I'm just going to pop it on for about 3 minutes. That was good timing. So yeah, so that's spring you to the touch. So when you top it, it should just gently spring back up. If it goes in or you leave it dent, it's not quite cooked. It probably just needs a little bit longer. If it's feeling quite firm, get it out. You don't want to let it's cooked. And you don't want it to go any further. So that's probably about another 3 minutes, I say, and then I'll take it out, cool it for about 10 minutes, drizzle with the caramel, and then wait for it to completely cool before icing with the whipped cream. So, happy Sunday. Enjoy the sun. It's absolutely beautiful out there. So once this is done, we're going out for a walk. And like I say, if there's any questions, you want to have any ideas, just drop me a line on the Facebook page or on the in the baking group. Please share your bakes. I know people have been baking them and making them because you've been asking questions. I love to see them because it's just my mum that sends me pictures at the moment. I really, really would love to see yours as well. So that's it from here in the Cotswolds. I will see you guys shortly on the page and next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.